So, next, how do we find out what this color is on Braden's cheek? You know, Braden's already done the heavy lifting. He's already drawn an excellent portrait. He drew it in a grid, backwards, transferred it, and so now I am just doing paint by number. The color is not that important if the value is right. Obviously the shapes are correct because he's checked it, and so now we have to just make sure the values are right. The color really doesn't matter that much. So how do we find out what the value is? Well, one of the things we can do is squint, and that helps. Another thing is we can look at the posterized version using a grayscale finder. So if I look at the posterized version and I want to paint this color right here, or maybe we should start with the next lighter color. I want to paint this color right here. So I'm gonna put the white here. Well, that's too light. Whenever this color disappears when I squint, I'll know that's the value. So I think it's a value, in this case, a value 8. I will take this value 8 and I'll come over here and see if that looks like the correct value. And I think it does. So if I know it's a value 8, a fun thing you can do is I can put it back into the package. And you know, sometimes it's hard to see what the value is. So I can put this back in the package. I can mix up a color, which I just took his flesh tone and made it slightly darker. Quite a bit darker actually. So let's add some more white. Let's just add a flesh tone into this. So a flesh tone is predominantly yellow, a touch of red. Red's a strong color, and perhaps a touch of cerulean blue, not ultramarine. Okay, so there's a good flesh. So I can take this flesh and I can say, okay, I know it's a value 8. I can set it on top of here, or I can set it on top of the one that's already in grayscale, and I can paint right on top of here. So if I paint right on top of here, does that color disappear? Can you see that? No, it doesn't. So let's wipe it off. And please wipe it off because that would be a mess. Let's add some more white. Keeping in mind that white will make things a little bit cooler, so we might want to add just a little bit of yellow. It's almost imperceptible, but a little bit. But white will also always cool something, but that's another story. So now we have this on our brush. We know it's a value 8. We're going to put it right there. If we squint, does it disappear? It's much, much closer. So let's give it a try. It may not be perfect, but perfect is not necessary in this case. We want to do something artistic. We want to be afraid to not fail. I'm sorry, we want to not be afraid to fail. All right, I've mixed this up. It's nice and juicy. Let me add another drop of that gum arabic into it, just so it won't dry so quickly. We have pretty quick classes here though, so that's not that important. I'm going to pay attention to just the shape of this second tone. So I'm going to go, if you can see, I'm going to go around the eye. And if I squint, I think that's an excellent tone. So I'm going to go around the eye and just do this light blue that I see. He has a very dark portrait here, so it's really okay if it goes dark. Darker than we think. So I know that the nose is here. I'm going to continue to look at the posterized version and the real version, and I'm going to put this right on top. There's a shadow right here. Okay, actually I'm going to go ahead and just go over his forehead here. The nice thing about the the pencil drawing is if I can't figure out what these shapes are, I can go back and my drawing is safe. This is feeling a little bit juicy. I don't know if it's picking up what's underneath or not, so going to just continue on, but I will not add more water. So this shape right here is white, so I'm going to go around it so it'll stay white. He's got a little white shape right here by his eye, so I'm going to go around that shape so that little white area stays white. Go right up to his eye. And even if I go into that dark, I can always come back and get it. This is a nice shape right here. Finish up with the inside of the eye. There we go. Now I'm going to go over here. Now I'm starting to feel a little chalky, so I am going to add some water. It's probably a good idea to get water and then touch it to a Kleenex as you go. So now I'm just going to go right over this third value because this is going to be darker, so it won't matter. Right? So I'm going to go over this. I'm not going to pay attention to anything else other than that number 8 value, that blue value. Okay, that blue value is lighter than this, so I'm going to put it on down. So what we're trying to do is trying to keep this white. Let's think of it that way. Think of the negative space. Adding a little bit more water. So if we want to keep that white, and it looks like I dropped some water on here, so I'm going to blot it. If I didn't blot it, and it's a perfect circle, so we have to be careful about keeping this nice and clean. All right, so this is this shape. Comes back. I'm only trying to keep that white shape that I see. And if it looks like Braden, that would be wonderful. If it doesn't look exactly like Braden, that's not the end of the world. It'll be a nice portrait. But we'll do everything we can to keep his drawing that he's worked so hard on. So I see there's a little white area there. I'm not going to touch that. Inside it's a little darker. So it's just back and forth, back and forth. Save the light color, go with the next tone. Now if I squint, that's pretty dark, but I really don't think it's a problem. I think it's going to be very interesting, especially when we go very, very dark with this background. So I'm going to continue doing these shapes and we will be back.